The Senate, this is part of Harry Reid's finally standing up to the Republicans and sort of kicking their butts. I mean, he did say, okay, we'll force the president to withdraw 2 of his nominees, even though that's really up to the president, not up to Senator Reid. But he said, we'll force the president to withdraw 2 of his nominees for the National Labor Relations Board and appoint 2 different people if that will make you Republicans happy, and then you won't filibuster everything else. Well, all the votes aren't in yet. It's a still ongoing process, but it began with Richard Cordray, who was the head of the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, of the CFPB, and Elizabeth Warren, of course, created that bureau. She was supposed to be the first director of it. That was President Obama's first choice to be director of the bureau. The Republicans so filibustered her that she gave up and the president gave up, and so she said, to hell with this, I'm going to run for Congress, for the Senate. And she won, beat Scott Brown, and just beat the pants off Scott Brown, to probably an inappropriate metaphor. But in any case, Scott Brown he's now a commentator on Fox News, isn't he? Isn't that where defeated and disgraced Republicans go? They always end up over at Fox News. I mean, Karl Rove's over there. You can get a paycheck from Fox News if you've served in the trenches. For the Republicans. But Elizabeth Warren, today, CNBC, which is like, these guys, I mean, we not only have no labor newspapers in America, we have no labor programming. There used to be labor shows, labor sections. My Uncle King King was his name, King Saunders. He used to edit the Motor Wheel News, which was paid for by Motor Wheel, which was a company in Lansing that generated wheels, that did wheels for motor vehicles. They made wheels and they sold them to General Motors, who put them on cars. And the Motor Wheel News was basically the weekly news labor newspaper that everybody in Lansing read. All the guys who worked in all the different union shops. And it was all about union activities, and they had all the stats and everything else going on. So CNBC is all about business, and so of course they take the business position, and therefore they would ask stupid questions like, isn't protecting consumers going to hurt America? Isn't protecting consumers going to hurt the banksters? And if you hurt the banksters, isn't that going to reduce economic activity and hurt it? It speaks for itself. Here's the first clip.
Shouldn't we just tell the American consumer that no matter what we do, there will be bank boom and bust cycles, no matter what the laws and regulations? You can't protect everything.
No, that is just wrong.
Why?
Look at the history.
I have looked at history. We're filled with booms and busts from the Dutch tulip crisis to now.
From 1797 to 1933, the American banking system crashed about every 15 years. In 1933, we put good reforms in place for which Glass-Steagall was the centerpiece. And from 1933 to the early 1980s, that's a 50-year period, we didn't have any of that. None. We kept the system steady and secure. And it was only as we started deregulating, you start hitting the S&L crisis, and what did we do? We deregulated some more. And then you hit long-term capital management at the end of the 90s, and what did we do as a country? This country continued to deregulate more. And then we hit the big crash in 2008. You are not going to defend the proposition that regulation can never work.
I didn't say
Yeah, I didn't say what I just said. I'm really not as stupid as I sound. It's just good, serious butt kicking, Elizabeth. Good job there. She continues.
It would really hurt credit creation, which obviously in turn would hurt the economy. What would you say, for example, to that?
That was pretty much what the banks were saying back in 1932 and 1933. They kept saying no, no, no to Glass-Steagall. They raised all kinds of objections to it. And they kept hammering away at it because they wanted to be able to get access to those deposits in order to fuel more speculative trading. And what this says is no. We can't do that. If you're going to have FDIC insurance, you're going to have savings accounts and checking accounts. They really do have to be walled off. Remember, we had 50 years following the passage of Glass-Steagall, in which we had a tiny number of bank failures. That whole boom and bust cycle from 1797 to 1933 went away. And in that period of time, we built a strong, robust middle class. What happened is we started chipping away, and part of the chipping away at that was to say, load up the banks with more and more risk, get them more integrated, and let them get bigger and bigger.
Yeah. So, one after another, useful idiots are asking questions, and Elizabeth Warren is giving them just straight stand-up answers.